in Egypt, and when all her helpers shall be destroyed. Thus saith the Lord God, I will also make the multitude of Egypt to cease by the hand of Nebuchadnezzar king of Babylon. He and his people with him, the terrible of the nations, shall be brought to destroy the land. That was mentioned in our earlier prophecy. And they shall draw their swords against Egypt, and will find and fill the land with the slain. And I will make the rivers dry, and there shall be no more a prince of the land of Egypt. And I will put a fear in the land of Egypt, and I will set fire in Egypt. Unquote. 6 verses later, the text adds to this mayhem by saying, quote, Thus saith the Lord God, Behold, I am against the Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and I will break his arms. And I will scatter the Egyptians among the nations, and I will disperse them through the countries. And I will strengthen the arms of the king of Babylon, and put my sword in his hand. And he shall stretch it out upon the land of Egypt, and I will scatter the Egyptians among the nations. Unquote. That Egypt was to be destroyed and scattered by the king of Babylon is all too obvious from these predictions. But history shows that A, the multitudes of Egypt have never been taken away or scattered among other countries. B, Ethiopia, Libya, Lydia, and Egypt have never fallen to a common destroyer. C, a large conflagration, that's generally considered to be a fire, never occurred in Egypt. D, Nebuchadnezzar never destroyed the land of Egypt. E, a prince continued to rule in Egypt long after Nebuchadnezzar died. F, the rivers of Egypt were never made dry. And by the way, what rivers are in Egypt other than the Nile? And G, none of the evils which Ezekiel said Nebuchadnezzar would bring upon Egypt ever occurred. Alexander the Great is the one who actually conquered Egypt, and that was done 240 years later. So to close out our second category, we can safely say that any present-day prognosticator, that's a predictor, with a batting average comparable to that of the Bible would be classified as a charlatan in the tradition of psychics, mystics, spiritualists, crystal ball readers, palm readers, and fortune tellers. The third and final category of prophecies, besides those which never existed or were incorrectly fulfilled, are those which have never materialized. Some biblicist, such as those in the Church of Christ, contend all the prophecies in the Old Testament have already been fulfilled. If so, one can't help but ask when the following occurred. First, Genesis 15:18 says, quote, The Lord made a covenant with Abraham, saying, Unto thy seed I have given this land, from the river of Egypt, that's the Nile, to the great river, the river Euphrates, unquote. Although it could be argued that Israelite territory extended to the Nile as a result of the 1967 Six-Day War, it's questionable whether it will ever extend to the Euphrates. That's in Iraq, Saddam Hussein's country. Second, Isaiah 17:1 says, quote, The burden of Damascus is taken away from being a city, and it shall be a ruinous heap, unquote. Yet the Encyclopedia Britannica says Damascus, which is one of the oldest cities in the world, has been inhabited for thousands of years and is the only city in Palestine that has never been completely destroyed. Never has it been a ruinous heap. Third, according to Isaiah 19:18, quote, 5 cities in the land of Egypt will speak the language of Canaan. Swear to the Lord of hosts, and one shall be called the city of destruction, unquote. To this day, 5 cities in the land of Egypt have never learned to speak Hebrew or any other language from Canaan, and none has been nicknamed the city of destruction. Fourth, Isaiah 24 says, so shall the king of Assyria lead away the Egyptian prisoners and the Ethiopian captives, young and old, naked and barefoot, even with their buttocks uncovered to the shame of Egypt, unquote. When did the Assyrians capture Egyptians and Ethiopians and lead them away naked with their buttocks uncovered? Fifth, Isaiah 65:20 makes this incredible statement, quote, no more shall there be an infant that lives but a few days, for the child shall die 100 years old, unquote. When and where has everyone without exception lived to be at least 100 years old? 6. Ezekiel 29, 9-12, along with 30:23, 30:26, 32, 9-12, and 32:20 says, quote, the land of Egypt shall be desolate and waste, and I will make the land of Egypt utterly waste and desolate, from the tower of Syene even to the border of Ethiopia. No foot of man shall pass through it, nor foot of beast shall pass through it, neither shall it be inhabited 40 years. And I will make the land of Egypt desolate in the midst of the countries that are desolate, and her cities shall be desolate 40 years. And I will scatter the Egyptians among the nations, and I will disperse them through the countries, unquote. The problems with all these predictions are, A, Egypt has never been desolate and waste from Syene to Ethiopia. B, men and beasts have never failed to pass through Egypt. C, there has never been a 40-year period in which Egypt was uninhabited even for a single day. D, Egypt has never been surrounded by countries that are desolate. E, Egypt's cities have never been desolate 40 years. And F, Egyptians have never been scattered among other nations. How's that for prophetic reliability? 7th, Joel 3:17 says, quote, then shall Jerusalem be holy, and there shall no strangers pass through her anymore, unquote. It goes without saying that strangers and visitors have always passed through Jerusalem and continue to do so every day. 8th, one of the most absurd prophecies of all is found in Zephaniah 3:13, which says, quote, the remnant of Israel shall not do iniquity nor speak lies, neither shall a deceitful tongue be found in their mouth, unquote. Who ever heard of any large body of people entering a period in which they no longer did iniquity, spoke lies, or practiced deceit? The remnant of Israel has never stopped doing iniquity or speaking lies. 9th, Zechariah 10:11 says, quote, they shall pass through the sea of Egypt, and the waves of the sea shall be smitten, and all the depths of the Nile shall be dried up, unquote. The Nile has never dried up, and there's no reason it ever should. 10th, Zechariah contains one of those promises that belongs in the realm of fantasy. The 11th verse of the 14th chapter says, but Jerusalem shall be safely inhabited. With the Middle East as it is today, and has been for centuries, it's safe to say that this promise has fallen wide of the mark and is miles from realization.